It was the hottest day Texas had seen in years. The state fairgrounds buzzed with laughter, sizzling food, and bright lights. But beneath all the excitement, the heat clung to every surface, making the air thick and unforgiving. Families strolled past lemonade stands, livestock displays, and music tents, their hats tilted low to shield them from the blazing sun dot, and there, standing under no tent, with no shade or cooling breeze, were two small twin girls. They looked around 8 years old. Brown curls clung to their sweaty faces, and their dresses, once a soft white, were now stained with dust and wear. They clutched each other's hands tightly, their eyes scanning the crowd with hope. Between them sat a small, battered cardboard sign with shaky handwriting, "We'll sing for food." People passed them like they were invisible. Some glanced and looked away quickly. A few tossed loose change into the rusty tin can at their feet without slowing down, but no one stopped. No one asked why they were there. No one heard their voices until Caleb Foster walked by. Caleb wasn't anyone special, not in the way society measured success. A single dad in his 30s, he wore jeans faded from work and a t-shirt that clung to his back with sweat. His hands were calloused from years of construction work, and his boots had seen better days. But he had something many others didn't. A heart wide open to the world, especially to those in pain. He had taken his 10-year-old son, Eli, to the fair that day to escape the weight of their reality. Life had been hard lately, bills piling up, jobs drying out, and long days that turned into longer nights. He hadn't smiled in a while. Not really, but when Eli tugged on his hand and said, "Dad, look at those girls," everything changed. Caleb followed his son's finger and saw them, the twins, small, still, and so heartbreakingly tired. He paused, letting the crowd wash around them like a tide, and walked over. "Hey there," he said gently, crouching to their level. "You girls okay?" One of them nodded, the motion barely perceptible. "Yes, sir," she whispered. "We sing for food." Caleb looked down at their sign, then up again. "Where's your mom?" "In the car," the other girl replied. "She's sick. We're trying to help her." Caleb looked closer now. Their lips were dry. Their cheeks were flushed, dangerously red. They hadn't eaten properly, hadn't drank water in hours. They were struggling to survive, right here in front of hundreds of people who pretended not to see. He turned to Eli. "Son, go get 3 bottles of water. Cold ones and some sandwiches from that booth." Eli nodded and ran off without a word. Caleb sat on the curb beside the girls, not caring that the concrete burned his skin. "You got names?" he asked. "I'm Hope," said the older one. "And I'm Grace," said the younger. "Fitting names," Caleb said, smiling softly. "I'm Caleb. That's my son, Eli." They nodded, barely able to meet his eyes. Eli came running back with the water and food. The girls hesitated, looking unsure. "It's okay," Caleb assured them. "It's not charity." "You said you sing, right? How about a trade? You sing a song and I give you lunch." The girls looked at each other, then, slowly, nodded. They stood, still clutching each other's hands. One cleared her throat. Then in soft, wavering voices, they began to sing. It wasn't a song Caleb recognized, maybe a lullaby, maybe a hymn, but it didn't matter. Their voices were small but beautiful, fragile yet steady. There was a soul in their singing that made time slow. And people noticed. One by one, fairgoers stopped. Some just turned their heads, others paused fully. A few stepped closer. By the end of the song, a small crowd had formed. Then something incredible happened. They started clapping, and not just polite applause. Real, emotional, heartfelt clapping. Tears welled up in strangers' eyes. Even Eli wiped at his face, though he insisted it was the sun making his eyes water. Caleb stepped forward, still stunned. "You girls ever sang on a stage before?" "No, sir," Hope replied. "Well," he said, looking at the growing crowd, "maybe it's time." He stood up and raised his voice. "Hey, any musicians around? Anyone got a mic, a speaker? These girls deserve to be heard." Within minutes, a local band packing up from a nearby tent offered their small setup. A vendor pulled over an umbrella to give them shade. A woman handed over sunglasses for their eyes. A young man set up a tip jar. A bench was brought over so they wouldn't have to stand too long. And then they sang again, this time, with a mic in hand and hundreds watching. Hope and Grace found something inside themselves. Something strong. Their voices soared. Still, soft, but filled with emotion that shook people. They sang about love, loss, hope, God, their mama. People wept openly. A cowboy in boots took off his hat and placed it over his heart. A young woman fell to her knees in prayer. Even the funnel cake man stopped frying to listen. When they finished, the crowd erupted into applause that echoed across the fairgrounds. The tip jar overflowed. More importantly, so did hearts. After the show, Caleb helped pack everything up. He walked with the twins to the dusty old car they had spoken of. In the back seat lay their mother, Denise, pale, thin, but alert. She sat up when she saw them, eyes wide. "Girls, where were you?" Hope hugged her. "Mama, we sang," and they listened. Denise looked at Caleb. "And who are you?" Caleb smiled gently. "Just someone who saw your daughters when no one else did." She broke down crying. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming feeling of finally being seen. Caleb offered them help. "I don't have much, ma'am, but I got a house with an extra room. I got food, a little work maybe, and I got a son who'd love some sisters to drive him crazy." Denise shook her head. "We can't—" "Yes," Caleb interrupted softly. "You can." And so they did. The next weeks were filled with change. Caleb's small house became livelier. Eli taught the girls how to ride bikes and play checkers. Denise slowly recovered with proper meals and rest. And the girls? They kept singing. Caleb recorded one of their songs on his phone and posted it online. Within a week, it hit 3 million views. People wanted more. He set up a channel. Hope and Grace, Voices from the Fair. The story spread fast. News anchors called. Churches invited them to perform. A record producer from Austin drove 5 hours just to sit in Caleb's living room and hear them sing. He cried. He signed them. The girls began recording their first album. At every step, Caleb was there. Not their father by blood, but their guardian in every way that mattered. He taught them how to stand tall. He showed them what family really meant. And in return, they gave him the one thing he'd lost after his wife died: joy. 1 year later, the Texas State Fair invited them back. This time as special guests. The same dusty lot now had a stage built just for them. As they walked on stage in matching white dresses, the crowd, thousands strong, fell silent. Caleb watched from the side, Denise beside him, Eli in front holding a camera. The twins took the mic. "Last year," Hope said, "we stood here with a cardboard sign. We were hungry, tired, and nobody saw us. Except one man," Grace added. "One dad, not ours, but he became ours." Hope nodded. "He gave us food, a home, a future, a voice." Then they began to sing, the same lullaby from a year ago. But now with stronger voices, fuller harmony, backed by a soft guitar and gentle piano. The crowd didn't make a sound. By the final note, every person was standing. Silent. Moved. Transformed. Then came the applause, thundering. Emotional, endless. The mayor stepped on stage with a plaque. The girls were declared Voices of Hope. Caleb was honored as Citizen of the Year. And Denise, now strong and smiling, spoke 3 words to him that meant everything: "You saved us." High in the hills of rural Montana, where pine trees whispered in the wind and the roads wound like lazy rivers, stood a small wooden cabin nestled against a dense forest. It was the kind of place the world forgot, quiet, peaceful, untouched by the rush of modern life. That cabin belonged to Nathan Carter, a 38-year-old single dad who had recently moved there with his daughter, Lily, hoping for a fresh start after a painful divorce and a stressful life in the city. Nathan wasn't wealthy. He worked remotely as a software technician and spent his days juggling code, chores, and raising his 10-year-old girl. The cabin was beautiful but old, and between his work and parenting, it had started falling apart, dust collecting in corners, windows fogging and leaves piling up around the porch. One morning, as Nathan drove Lily to the small town nearby for school, He passed a woman standing beside the bulletin board outside the general store. She looked worn, not old, but weary. Her hair was tied in a loose bun, her clothes mismatched, and a small child clung to her leg. He wouldn't have noticed her had she not stepped up to him as he locked his truck. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly. "Do you need any help? I can clean." "I can cook too." Nathan paused, unsure. He was cautious by nature, but something in her voice, a blend of pride and desperation, made him stop. He glanced at Lily, who gave a shrug. "We could use some help, Dad. The cabin smells weird." He turned back to the woman. "What's your name?" "Angela," she replied. "Angela Rowe. How much do you charge?" "Whatever you think is fair." That answer bothered him. It wasn't just humble, it was empty, like someone who hadn't been paid in a while. "I'll pay $100 to clean the cabin, top to bottom." "That fair?" Nathan offered. Angela's eyes lit up. "Yes, sir. I'll start today if that's okay." He gave her the directions and warned her about the steep trail to the cabin. She nodded quickly and thanked him, clutching her child's hand as they walked off toward an old pickup truck parked nearby. Nathan didn't think much about it until he returned home later that evening. The moment he stepped through the door, something felt different. The air was cleaner. The dusty scent was gone. The windows sparkled. The floor was swept. The counters wiped spotless. Even the old stone fireplace had been scrubbed. He was genuinely impressed. There was no sign of Angela, but a small handwritten note sat on the table. "Thank you. I'll come again tomorrow to finish the upstairs, if that's okay." Angela. Nathan nodded to himself. She'd earned every penny. The next few days followed the same rhythm. Angela arrived in the late morning, always alone, always gone by the time Nathan returned. The house got cleaner, warmer. For the first time in months, it felt like a home, but on the fifth day, something changed. Nathan came home earlier than usual after a client canceled their meeting. As he pulled into the drive, he spotted movement behind the cabin, small figures darting into the trees. He frowned, then walked to the back porch. There, sitting on the deck, was a little girl, not more than 5, holding a slice of bread in her lap. She froze when she saw him, crumbs still clinging to her mouth. Inside, voices whispered frantically. He opened the back door quietly and stepped inside. In the pantry, the place he rarely used, he found something that stopped him cold: blankets, pillows, empty food wrappers, a doll, a pair of children's shoes. It was a hiding place. "Angela?" He called out. No answer. He turned toward the stairs and found her standing there, eyes wide with fear. Behind her were 6 children, all different ages, all thin and cautious. Nathan didn't speak at first. Angela stepped forward, voice trembling. "Please don't call anyone. I swear, we're not trying to steal or hurt anything. I just needed work. I just needed a place to let them rest." He looked around. The pantry now made sense. So did the missing snacks, the moved blankets, the occasional sound he'd chalked up to creaky wood. "You're living here?" he asked softly. "No," she said quickly. "Just hiding here during the day. The kids stay in the woods. I come in to clean. They sneak in when no one's around." Nathan sat down on the steps. "Why didn't you just say something?" She wiped her eyes. "Because people don't help women like me anymore." Angela's story came out slowly. Her husband had abandoned them 2 years ago. She had no family, no support, and every shelter was full. She'd been living out of their truck, parking deep in the forest to stay hidden. Her kids, all hers, from ages 2 to 13, hadn't eaten properly in days. "I just wanted to earn enough to feed them," she whispered. "That's all?" Nathan felt something break inside him. He saw his own daughter and Angela's youngest. He imagined Lily sleeping in a truck, begging for scraps. It was unbearable. He stood up. "All right. Here's what we're going to do. You and your kids are going to come inside. You're going to sleep in real beds. You're going to eat a hot meal tonight." Angela shook her head fiercely. "I can't ask you. You didn't," he said gently. "I'm offering." That night was chaos. Lily came home to find 6 children raiding the fridge, Angela trying to control them, and Nathan boiling spaghetti like it was a military operation. But something in the laughter, the noise, the warmth, felt right. Lily, wise beyond her years, simply said, "Can they stay?" And Nathan replied, "For now, yes." The next few weeks transformed the cabin into something entirely different. Nathan converted the garage into a sleeping area with bunk beds. He bought groceries in bulk. He used his savings to fix the truck so Angela could use it again. Angela, in return, took over cooking, cleaning, and tutoring the kids. Lily suddenly had a group of playmates. Laughter filled the halls. The woods behind the house turned into a playground. Word started to spread in town. Some judged, others helped. A local church donated clothes. A retired teacher offered to homeschool. A grocer gave discounts quietly, saying, "I know what it's like to grow up hungry." One night, Nathan stood on the porch, watching the kids play under the stars. Angela joined him, arms folded. "I don't know how to repay you," she said. Softly, "You already have," he replied. "How?" He looked at the children chasing fireflies. "You reminded me why this cabin was built. It was too quiet before, too empty. Now it's alive," she smiled. "Do you think they'll be okay? With you as their mom?" "Yeah, I think they'll be amazing." They stood in silence for a while. And then Angela whispered, "You saved us." Nathan shook his head. "No, you saved yourself." "I just left the door open."